So we have got a lot of good positive stories this hour, I'm delighted to say. But the first one is the story of the morning.
Well, should we get it out of the way?
Yeah, get it out of the way.
We really do have some festive cheer coming.
It's the important first story, and it's based on the... I mean, I guess it should be updated now because we've just had the data as well for Q3.
Well, and also the economy, of course, doesn't stop mattering because it's Christmas. If anything, we perhaps feel it more at Christmas because it's the time of the year when we typically spend more. And you might not be surprised to find this on the front page of the Daily Mail, but it's not exactly a positive outlook for the economy. And, of course, the twist is that Labour are being blamed for it. And specifically the budget, and even more specifically the rise in employers' national insurance contributions. And when that came out with the budget, there was that big debate. Was it, wasn't it, in the manifesto? That's all history now. The question is it going to be an impediment to growth? And the early signs seem to suggest it might very well be. And businesses are saying that they are going to reduce hiring and reduce output. And that's a bit of a double whammy. And this is being pointed out by the Confederation of British Industry.
Interestingly, Sophia, obviously we got the updated data this morning for Q3, which are the first 3 months since the government took over. Rachel Reeves, though, again in her statement saying we've got to correct for 15 years' worth of economic mismanagement. I guess next year, surely they'll be dropping that aspect of their contextualising the poor data.
Well, maybe in 15 years' time. I think it's important to remember, OK, doom and gloom, yes, but look at what they have done. I mean, they chose to invest in the NHS, and they do mention that in this article further down, but I think that's an important thing to remember as well.
And definitely the benefits of the extra spending won't have been felt yet, whereas the confidence hit from talk of extra taxation probably does weigh in. But I guess my point on that, Matthew, is the proof will be in the numbers next year, and it starts to be numbers that they have to take full responsibility for. Maybe it'll be good numbers, but they have to take responsibility by next year.
People who are inclined to defend this government, such as myself, will see the best in it. We've been able to say, well, it's only 5 months, or before that, it's 2 or 3 months in, that will start to fade. But we know from the OBR's response to the budget that the impacts, if they are going to be positive, will be slightly longer term. And as you say, and as you've said, Rachel Reeves' explanation for what she did in the budget was that she needs to create the foundations for growth. And if you have an NHS which has been on its knees, and I think we all accept that, if you have millions of people on waiting lists, how can you get enough people into the office, get enough people driving the economy forward? The question is, was it right to tax small businesses? And many would say, and I would agree, that they are the engines of growth in this country. And if growth doesn't happen, then even if you've invested as they have up front in the NHS and other areas of public spending as well, there is a risk that the size of the coffers shrink.
Sophia, we're going on now to another Daily Mail story, but a bit further in. Pure genius, Dublin sends reserves of Guinness to stout-starved Britain.
There is more Guinness on the way. Here is a positive story for you. One of my reporters is going to be so thrilled I'm doing this. I've been talking my ear off about this all week. There is a Guinness shortage, and the owners of Guinness are redirecting Guinness earmarked for Ireland to the UK, and a spokesperson said that they are sending more Guinness here than they did for St Patrick's Day back in March earlier this year. And they're still not meeting the demand. And
did we just have lower supplies coming into this shortage, or are we just really feeding on our alcoholism here in Britain?
Well, Guinness has, I don't want to say a resurgence because it's always been there, but it's found a new audience in younger women, especially Gen Z. I can justify that with most of my team being Gen Z women who enjoy a Guinness. In fact, some have been turning to alcohol-free Guinness recently just to be able to have some. I think someone in the article called it just a rite of passage in itself, being able to order a Guinness so soon.
I have no medical expertise, let alone any sort of dietary expertise. My hunch is that if you go for a pint, a Guinness might do one slightly less harm than a regular pint of beer, a regular pint of lager.
Well, I mean, I know
There's
you've
more
caveated
nourishing.
this with no expertise, but how is that based?
I get the sense that it's slightly more nourishing. It feels more virtuous, but I may be completely wrong.
I mean, it feels a lot heavier when you
Oh, it's
drink
definitely
it.
heavier, yeah.
It feels like a Christmas drink. I
It
think
does
I'll
feel like
say
a Christmas
that,
drink. I agree.
It's the season.
I mean, it's not my tipple, so I don't want to be partial on this rather than balanced, but you can't have much Guinness. I mean, this is what I find amazing. People that love Guinness can have like multiple, and it's so heavy. I mean, I don't know.
I think you probably you generate a tolerance to it, don't you?
Yeah, probably. With practice comes greediness.
This is more good news coming, though.
More good news. Another story here that we're going for hotter than Corfu on Christmas
So
Day.
I was walking in this morning at about 5 o'clock, whatever it was, and it was chilly.
It
was
certainly was.
fresh, and that felt rather seasonal. And in recent days, although we've had some dodgy weather as well, a bit of storm and everything, it felt quite unseasonably mild. And this is going to continue on Christmas Day itself, because it is going to be hotter, or warmer, perhaps hot is overdoing it, than Corfu on Christmas Day. It's going to be about 12 or 13 degrees. Now, last year on Christmas Eve, I think it might even have been a record-breakingly warm day of around about 15 or so degrees. Does this make it feel less festive? Does this make it feel less Christmassy? Because we were talking in the green room just now about how it doesn't really... You're in the spirit. It doesn't really feel like Christmas. Our problem is that we haven't got a kitchen at the moment because we've had damp, so we've been sorting that out. So all of our kitchen is in our living room and in our bedroom. So for our 2-year-old, for whom this is really his first Christmas that he can experience, he hasn't even been able to have a Christmas tree.
But the weather aspect surely doesn't play into that.
To the weather,
That's a different point.
That's a different point.
I mean, Sophia, we're of the side that if the Christmas Day walk is a little bit less chilly, that's something to be celebrated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it?
I mean, it's
think
kind
you
of
want to-
binary. You want to go the whole way down to snow,
Yeah.
or just clear and fresh, but not too
I
cold.
prefer a bit more crisp, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I know for those spending Christmas rough sleeping, it will definitely be good news because, cold is not what you want when you're sleeping on the street. I did a shift at Crisis last night and it was incredibly windy and cold as we were letting people into the hotel. So warmer weather is a bit of a godsend.
Well, it's an important point. And we're actually going to be joined by Crisis later in the show as well to talk about those things. We're out of time for this hour. Guys, thanks so much. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with all of the day's top stories in just a couple of minutes.
Weeknights on Sky News.